all troops out by December 31st, 2011.
Well, we have got instant reaction for you from Washington, D.C. on the president's remark. Congressman Joe Sestak is joining us, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, and Congressman Ron Paul, Republican from Texas, both of us joining here. Congressman Paul's on the phone with us today. Congressman, I want to start with you, Congressman Sestak there in D.C. You know, the president has outlined not just the budget, but also this withdrawal from Iraq, very ambitious plans. Can we afford, security-wise and financially, to stay on this timeline that the president's on right now?
Well, we have to stay on this time. Oh, I'm sorry.
Who was that?
Did you want Ron? Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, I'm sorry, too. I just have no idea how they can sustain it, because this is still going to be very expensive, and we're flat out broke. I mean, the past 12 months we went into debt over $1.5 trillion, so any presence over there is going to cost a lot of money, and we're increasing our presence in Afghanistan, increasing the bombing in Pakistan. So for anybody to think this is backing off and is going to save us some money, I think they're deceiving themselves.
Congressman Sestak, do you want to respond?
Yes, we've already spent over $700 billion on Iraq. As you know, I was a former Navy admiral. I actually did combat operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. This redeployment has to be done deliberately and safely. And yes, for our men and women, we can afford it. But the real cost of this war is actually about $2 trillion to $3 trillion, because as you heard the president talk, when you add in the cost of post-traumatic stress disorder, of which 39% of all returning troops have, this is an enormous cost, and one of the reasons why the war needs to end. That said, Al-Qaeda, according to the head of the CIA 1 year ago, now has a safe haven in Pakistan, a safe haven from which they can plan against us. So the reality of this redeployment is not savings. It's our overall national security in order to ensure that we have the right force in Afghanistan that can exterminate Al-Qaeda, bring the rest of the troops home, and then have our military ready where they can't respond to any other contingency throughout this world today. This defense security of ours has to be afforded, but I believe with his budget, which is only 1% above inflation, he begins to tamper down those costs that aren't needed. It's a very good road he's taking, deliberate and safe for America.
Yeah, but
don't love spending the money, but it's necessary to have our troops come home safely.
Congressman Sestak, again, going back to your 31 years as a Navy person, as a three-star admiral, you have a concept about what needs to be done militarily over there, and it ties in with the budget. I'm sure you've read the reports about a lot of people think that the budget numbers are using estimates that are too rosy. It sounds like you're saying that his comments regarding the military needs in Pakistan and Afghanistan may be a little too rosy, like essentially it will cost more and take more time.
I think that's an excellent point. You know, having been in the Pentagon and been in charge of its $70 billion warfare program budget for the Navy, there's this unfortunate tyranny of optimism that comes at times from throughout the whole executive branch. But what we really need here, and Ron, to this point, is we need a true acquisition reform. We have a system now where in the last 2.5 years, 30 major defense programs have come to Congress at what's called a Nunn-McCurdy breach. They inform us it's gone 20% over cost, and then they just give us the new cost. What we need to have is not a monitoring system, but an enforcement system, so they give us better confidence up front on the funding for buying a new tank and hold them to it. Well, that's the type of market mentality we have to have in our defense procurement.
And that's something that we're going to have to follow in the next few months, Congressman. I want to go over, though, once again to Ron Paul, because, Ron, you've been very critical of the Fed. We're just finding out this morning, of course, the government taking a bigger chunk of Citigroup, excuse me. So we've got a lot of things to digest, not just what's happening overseas, but also what's happening here at home with our monetary system. Can you comment, Congressman?
Well, they are connected because of the expense that we have for overseas, and we can't maintain it, but I want to get out completely. I don't think it's in our benefit to prop up another puppet government over there, so I want to get out to really save money, take off the pressure on the Fed to monetize debt. Now, it is a serious, serious crisis, and it has to do with the monetary system, and we have to admit the financial system has collapsed. The system set up in 1971, which was the post-Bretton Woods system, where the dollar was considered to be the reserve currency of the world, and we've gotten away with economic murder on this because we could print the money and spend it, and everybody took it. But now that system has ended. And to run up these deficits, I mean, the Republicans, look how bad they were, but to think of what's happening in this administration with all the military expenditures that will go up, expanding the war in Afghanistan, more killing in Pakistan. I mean, and that's why the markets are so negative on everything that we've done in Washington, because they don't look at the big picture, which is really the monetary system, and they have to devise a sound currency, but a sound currency restrains the government, and that offends conservatives and liberals. Conservatives like big military, and liberals like, big welfare. So it truly needs a revolutionary idea, and the revolutionary idea can be found in the Constitution. All we have to do is take our oath of office seriously, and we can find the answer to all our problems.
Congressman Sestak, you've got about 20 seconds, sir. Your last word here?
Yeah, if I could, though, much like we're in a war in Afghanistan, we're in an economic war. The Federal Reserve has committed $3.8 trillion. If it does not turn its preferred shares into common shares so that there is an interest that Citibank doesn't have to pay then, and they have more equity in there, that they can go buy so that lenders don't start taking their money out. This is an emergency. This is a war. This is the right thing to do till we get through this war. And then Huron's right. Let's step back at the right regulatory oversight. Let's make sure there's a referee on the football field. But the Federal Reserve is the one institution that has kept the lights burning on in America. This is an absolutely necessary evil to get through this recession.
All right. Congressman Sestak, thank you very much. Congressman Paul, thank you very much for joining us.